Hi folks, and welcome to this edition of Let's Grow Texas Ag. Our travels this month take us all the way over to Calhoun County, right off the shores of Lavaca Bay. Calhoun County is no other exception to, just like so many counties of Texas, it's got a rich history, full of beautiful farmland, rich farmland, good grazing country. We've got several folks we're going to be talking to, got some interesting stories to tell in Port Lavaca, Texas. We'll be back in just a second.
Welcome to Let's Grow Texas Ag, showcasing unique farm and ranch stories of the South Texas coastal plains. First-hand knowledge with special guests presented by our very own and well-known host, Joe Adams. Pull up a chair and enjoy as we share some of the heritage and insightful stories that have made us proud Texans. Let's Grow Texas Ag, sponsored by Shop Us John Deere.
All right, welcome back, folks, to Let's Grow Texas Ag. I'm sure there's a lot of folks out there wondering, why in the world would you be at the Calhoun County Courthouse? Well, I can tell you why. Because y'all are the ones that put a cowboy in a county judge's seat. So it's my privilege to have Richard Meyer here, my old buddy, sitting down here taking a few questions. How are you, man?
I'm good. We've been a few miles together and spent a few hours together over the years.
Yes, sir. And I tell you one thing, I imagine that your duties have changed dramatically from a guy that went all over the state of Texas working cattle for everybody and doing everything to your last week's deal as the county judge with a hurricane out in the Gulf. I imagine your duties, I imagine you was looking after a lot of things.
It was quite a bit different, but I mean, the responsibility was there, and I've dealt with so many ranchers and farmers over the years. It's really not that hard of a job. I thoroughly enjoy it. I've known basically everybody in the county all my life, knew everybody that worked in the courthouse.
We're talking about the agricultural impact of the cattle business in Calhoun County. And I can't think of anybody better to talk about the cow industry in Calhoun County than you. You've been all over it. You guys were in the feed business forever. Tell us a little bit about all that.
Well, I've pretty well worked cattle in every pasture in Calhoun County over the years since I was a kid. But let's step back in time a little bit for Calhoun County and Port Lavaca. Port Lavaca got its name as being Port of the Cow. We were the cattle exporter here before Indianola came and before the railroad came. So it was all done by ship, and it just went, it grew from there. Civil War, there was lots of rogue cattle out here, and they gathered them up, and the Chisholm Trail from Cuero really began down here on the coast and worked its way up. So the cattle industry in Calhoun County goes way back.
It does go way back, and doing some of the readings on the early history of Calhoun County and Vaca and Port of Vaca and all that kind of stuff. In Indianola, that's quite a badminton match right there, back and forth. It was going to be the county seat.
It was.
And there was a tremendous amount of exports that came out of the Port of Lavaca.
Sure.
And then in Indianola as well. But and then the railroad came, and it kind of changed everything a little bit.
It changed everything. And then Mother Nature arrived twice in Indianola, and 10 years apart, and then the county seat came back to Port Lavaca. So it's a long deal. I mean, we're standing here now. If the hurricanes wouldn't have hit Indianola, we'd have been bigger than Houston, because Indianola was the biggest port on the Texas coast at that time.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got to roll with the flow. Mother Nature deals your hand, and you got to take it.
Yep, you're exactly right. And it's kind of surprising, not surprising, but it's amazing somewhat. We're all hooked together some kind of way, especially being this close in proximity county-wise. But, from the cattle industry to whatever, and when Indianola was pretty much blown away after two back-to-back hurricanes,
right.
9 years apart or 10 years apart?
75 and 86.
Yeah, so 11 years apart. A lot of the houses were put on wagons and taken to Cuero.
That's right.
They numbered them. It's an amazing deal. If you were to tell somebody that we're going to do that today, they'd sit there and say, there ain't no way.
That's right.
You'll never get it done.
I was working cattle in a little town of Sweeney Switch. I don't know
there
where
you go.
And there's the old ranch house there, and I asked the guy, I said, how long has this house been here? He said, since 1850. The lumber my great-grandfather got from Port Lavaca our Indianola and brought an ox cart to there to build that house.
That was kind of one of the amazing things about some of the readings in that is all the stuff that came into the port. It was a port for all of Texas.
That's right.
They loaded everything that came in on ship, got on wagons, and it went to wherever. To West Texas, it went. This was the closest to the shipping point. So it may take a month to get here, or however long it is. But then they go up on a wagon, and they no telling how much they had to get there. And I believe in some of the stuff I was reading at one time, I can't remember exactly what year, but Port Lavaca was the largest exporter of seafood, especially shrimp, in the United States.
Yes.
Probably the world.
It was, and that was, I think, back in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Probably before the Depression hit, but it was really big, and we were one of the biggest cotton exporters here before the grain caught on. So yeah, it's a lot has changed, but a lot has not changed.
Yeah, well, you can't get too far away from the basics, and I've always been a firm believer that you got to know what your past is to know what your future's
gonna be. That's right.
And I think as long as everybody keeps a good line with that, I think, and keep that in mind, you gotta understand where you come from, know where you're headed.
Absolutely the truth.
That's exactly right. I think we see some of the same stuff. There's not a tremendous amount of young people that are wanting to go out there and say, hey, I want to get out there and
we do have
get in the ranching business. It's hard to do, and I would assume that farming is the same.
It is, but we do have some progressive young cattlemen that it's in their blood.
They're going to make it happen, yeah.
It's in their blood.
If it's bred in them, it's going to be hard to shake out of.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a plan to me. Richard Meyer?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it, my friend. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for coming down.
Good to see you.
You bet.
We'll be back with more Let's Grow Texas Ag right after this break. Hi, folks, and welcome back to Let's Grow Texas Ag. We're sitting out here on a very cool spot up underneath the beautiful awning right out here at May's Farms, along with Danny and Mr. Shane May. But we got one addition. We got the boss with us. We got Miss Eileen May here with us. So we're glad to have you join us, Miss Eileen. Thank you very much. Danny, y'all got a beautiful place here, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That's what we were talking about a while ago. There's so much that agriculture has to do in Texas, and whether it's the livestock industry, whether it's farming, whether it's the seafood industry, or whatever it is, all of that pertains to Calhoun County, and you guys are doing farmers, and I understand that you've been farming a long time.
Since 1964 was my first crop.
Well, what got you interested in farming?
My dad was farming, and
So he was farming before you were?
he was.
What year did he start?
He started in 1952.
1952. And your son Shane, he's following in the footsteps?
He's trying to.
He's trying to. How long have you been farming, Shane?
93.
93. So basically, your family, generational farmers, started in 1952, and here it is 2024, so y'all been in the business a long time.
We have.
So you've enjoyed lots of ups and downs in the market.
Lots of them.
What all do y'all grow?
Primarily cotton. A little corn every once in a while, but primarily cotton.
Tell me a story about your farming. What's something that's funny that's happened to you, or heartbreaking, or whatever?
In 2012, we had a brand new cotton picker. We had 43 hours on it, and it threw a rod through the block, blew the engine up.
43 hours on it.
43 hours on it. I think those pickers cost about $600,000 at that time.
And a cotton crop ready to pick.
Ready to pick. Cotton picker with no engine. And Shoppas brought their crew down, and we had a new engine from the factory installed in 3.5 days and back in the field.
Did that surprise you about Shoppas?
It did. They really
pulled a rabbit out of a hat.
Yeah, they pulled the rabbit out of the hat.
Shoppas is one of our main sponsor on this deal, and I've had the pleasure of working with them here a few years ago on some stuff. Excellent folks, and that's a true attest to a company that's trying to get you back in business. They know what your business is. They know what role their equipment plays in your business.
They do.
You're broke down, so they come and run it.
They do. They did.
So you can't expect anything more than that. So you got a boss. Her name's Miss Eileen. Miss Eileen, how did you and Mr. Danny meet?
We were at the Cowgirl Club in Victoria,
and he asked me if I knew how to waltz. And I said, yes, I did. Did he know how? And he said, let's go find out.
So would you mind if y'all showed us a little move around here a little bit? I mean, that must mean you must have had some old patented moves on you there, Danny.
That was a long time ago.
How many years y'all been married?
Be 38 in November.
Well, good for y'all. Good for y'all. And you wouldn't have it any other way.
No.
Married to a farmer.
Yeah, I was a rancher's daughter, but they wouldn't let me work on the ranch that much, and so he would let me drive a tractor and put me in the field to work.
You drive a tractor for him?
Mm-hmm.
Out here on the farm?
Mm-hmm.
And him?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good tractor driver, I bet you.
Very good.
That's pretty interesting. So you're not only the boss, you're an integral part of the operation itself.
Fixes a nice lunch at picking time too.
Well, I tell you one thing. That's job security right there.
Yeah.
Mr. Danny, Miss Eileen, Shane, I still can't believe you won her with a waltz.
Oh yeah, that was the easy part.
That was the easy part.
Yeah.
Hey, we've enjoyed interviewing you guys and enjoyed the talk back here on your back porch. What a cool place. Let's get out there and let's go see. We're going to go out there and see what these guys do. We're going to have old Stephen Brawls, Agri-Life Extension agent, the IPM agent. He's going to be out there and we're going to be looking at all kinds of stuff. We'll be back right after these messages.
Did you know? Cotton was not a major crop until the late 1800s after cotton gins were established, serving as a key piece to the county's economic infrastructure.
Welcome back, folks, to Let's Grow Texas Ag. We're starting it up. Your eyes not in eclipse. This is not no corn crop, and this ain't the field of dreams. But we are standing in the cotton field right out here at Mr. Danny and Shane Mays' farm out here, and they do have some kind of a field of dreams crop going on this year. How about that, Mr. Danny?
It's one of my better crops of my 60 years of farming.
60 years of farming. Shane, what about you?
30.
30 years of farming, so 90 years together, so average of 45. This is the best crop y'all ever had.
It is.
Well, I tell you
By
one
far.
thing.
Top 5.
Top
At least
5. What, standing out here and looking at this, it's beautiful cotton. Tell us about what you got in your hand there. What stage is the cotton plant in right there, and how long are you from defoliating, and how long are you from harvest?
We're about 40 days from defoliation. This bowl was put on. 3 days later, this one was put on. 3 days later, that one fell off. 3 days later, put this one. It's kind of a 3-day interval between bowls.
In relationship to that plant, though, how long will it take for it to open up?
From now, at probably 40 days, that would be open. These two out here probably would never make it to harvest, so it'd be these 3 go to harvest. The plant it won't. We will pick it before this one matures out
From that flower, 45 days
to open
from
cotton.
bloom to pick.
Kind of amazing, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's kind of a, you know what it's going to be.
I'll tell you something else that's a little bit amazing. You know, this time last week, we had Hurricane Beryl out there in the Gulf of Mexico, and last week I had the opportunity to come over and visit with you guys, and you were talking about how good your crop was and how everything looked, and it's absolutely beautiful. And all weekend, when they had the crosshairs, when old Beryl had the crosshairs set on Port Lavaca, I couldn't get you guys out of my mind talking about the best crop that y'all probably ever had in your years of farming, and then a hurricane come along. Of course, that's something you deal with on the Gulf Coast, but a hurricane come along and wipe y'all out.
That's the hardest thing about farming, is going this extra 40 days to harvest from this point on, because it's so susceptible to nature that we have little control. 10 miles to the west of us, they have a totally different look today than what we're looking at here.
It's kind of amazing, isn't it?
That close. We were that close to disaster.
And there's nothing we can do to the plant to make it. It matures when it does, so there's nothing we can do to speed that process up.
Yeah, and it matures and basically right in the middle of hurricane season.
That's
so
true.
you know, I mean, it's kind of like you're rolling the dice every morning you get out of bed, looking out there at the weather map, see what's out there in the Gulf. But you know, unfortunately for the folks up there in Matagorda in Bay City, I think they probably took a beating. And I don't think, what did you say, 20 miles from here? They took a beating too. But right here on this particular field, right here in Port Lavaca, Texas, y'all dodged a bullet, so that's good. So hopefully y'all make it to market.
When the storm blows this leaf off of that bowl right there, or this one, they're done. They're probably never open. And that's what's happened to our web.
You know, being in the cattle business and stuff like that, we all got stuff we got to dodge, and we got to get lucky every once in a while, and you got to work on these things so much on the average. You got to be in it for a long time for it to average out and for it to be profitable.
Because we've had 3 crops that were not very successful in the past 3 years.
You were showing me some tractors up there that I think you and our good friends over at Shoppers, I think they probably got you on their mailing list.
They do.
For sure, because you got a lot of John Deere equipment up there, and it sure does look pretty, because it's like the old saying, nothing runs like a deer.
That's true. That's right.
But the cost of equipment compared to what it was back then to what it is now, what's the last tractor you bought? What kind of numbers you looking at then?
The last one I bought was about $150,000. I would like to buy another one just like that one, brand new, but they don't have that. You got to have all the pollution control on it. If I were to buy that same tractor, a used one today, would cost me more than what I paid for that one.
Well, they got computers and they got all kinds of stuff on there. Do you know how to operate any of that stuff?
Have to.
Have to.
Not an option.
Hey, I mean, you got to do it by the app.
Pretty much by the app. It looks like a phone.
Well, I tell you one thing: technology has come a long way, and I would venture to say that it's probably been a big benefit for agriculture, especially farming.
Well, back when I started, 200 acres was a big farm. 1,500 acres is a medium-sized farm in this area now. The labor went down.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed in our visit last week, you guys are real progressive. Y'all are always trying to do something. You're thinking outside the box. And this field that we're standing in is kind of a research field.
It is a research field.
And I think that that's pretty interesting. And I think that Texas A&M AgriLife Extension agent, Mr. Stephen Browse, he is the IPM agent here. And what does IPM stand for?
Integrated Pest Management.
Integrated Pest Management. Come on in, Mr. Stephen. Come on here, watch out for that tall cotton.
Yeah.
Mr. Stephen, exactly what is it that you do?
So my role here in Calhoun, Victoria, and Refugio counties is to help the growers with the problems that they might experience in their crops. Most of the time that's insect related, but it can be dealing with what varieties they're growing, what weeds are in there, what diseases may be impacting those crops. And so we're going to try to work together to find solutions for that.
So basically, you would come out. Y'all come out. I think Shane, you said y'all come out like on
every
Monday morning.
Monday.
Tell us about that.
We go out every Monday when the crop is growing and just look at what stage it's in, look for bugs, what might be attacking the plant, I guess.
Why is it important to do it on a weekly basis?
So you know what's out there.
So when you find out when Stephen comes out and y'all go through there and y'all just
during the season we have a meeting. He has a turn row meeting every Monday, and we go out there and we talk about it. And he says what he's been seeing around the county, all around the county, where he's looking at, and then we'll go look at ours and see what we're seeing. And if we see something that needs attention, we spray it.
Why is that important, Mr. Danny?
Well, an old timer told me one time the best thing you could put on your crop is your shadow. So if you're out there and putting your shadow on the crop, you know what's going on.
So if every Monday you have a turn row meeting, Stephen, and you guys come out there and y'all check all the plants and see how they're maturing and see how their growth is and all that. But then if you find out that some of these bowls have bugs, then what?
Probably sprayed.
Spray it. So you don't go on this like every 30, 45, 60 days, the spray schedule. You go out there, you spray when needed.
We physically see damage or physically see bugs.
Well, I imagine that's got to save a lot of money in the long run, doesn't it?
Well, it could save a couple of sprayings a year. If you don't find them, you don't need to spray.
Well, I think that's a pretty neat deal. What else you do, Mr. Steve?
So we also do quite a bit of different types of research, and that's really what we do here on this farm. We've got insect-related research where we're looking at different populations of flea hoppers, cotton flea hoppers, and how that impacts the cotton crop. That will help us to determine what an economic threshold or a treatment threshold would be. We do some other trials. We've got a trial on the backside where we're looking at different insecticides and to see which ones are effective and which ones we may or may not want to use. And then we're looking at another trial over here that we're looking at different worm control products. And those are actually the genes that are inserted into the cotton. And we're just trying to look and see how well do they work and how well do they control the worms in the cotton.
That's pretty interesting stuff.
We use him as a check. You know, what do you see? And you seeing something out there? And maybe we'll go look and see if we see the same thing in our field.
Yeah, so you're traveling around 3 different counties. You're seeing all kinds of stuff. So it'd be advantageous to know, hey, we spotted this up that way, so it could be coming y'all way. Let's be proactive. And I think that's an interesting deal.
Right. And there's like 15 of us around the state that do that. So it's not just us here doing this in Victoria, Calhoun County. We've got some up the coast. We've got them up in the Blacklands. Got some up around Lubbock. One of ours is down in the valley. So we're all over the state trying to do this as well.
That's pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. You got anything else, Mr. Danny?
No, I think that wraps it up.
You think that wraps it up, Mr. Shane?
Just hope for some good weather from now till middle of September.
Yeah, so everybody got to keep their fingers crossed. They got to have some good weather here. In about 40 days, they're going to be defoliating this stuff. And if you ever coming into Fort Lavaca right here on 87, look over here to the right before you get into town, you'll see all their crops on the right hand and the left hand side. So come by here and stop by. You might see one of them walking around out there and say, hey, you saw them on Let's Grow Texas Ag. We'll be back in just a moment, folks. Y'all don't go nowhere.
Maybe you know someone that should be highlighted on our program. Let us know. Send your story ideas to crossroadstoday.com/ag.
All right, folks, we're about tied a knot in this edition of Let's Grow Texas Ag. You know, just like Texas, you got to get a little dirt on your feet to figure out what Texas is all about. There's a whole lot of folks that you'll never know unless you get out there and shake their hand and find out what they're all about. And one of the pleasant things that I figured out about Mr. Danny in our conversation here last week, he is an excellent winemaker. Grows his own grapes, does all kinds of stuff. How long have you been growing wine, making wine?
About 20 years.
About 20 years. That's pretty neat. So I think it'd be very, very fitting to end today's show with a toast to all accounts, to agriculture, to farming, in the great state of Texas. We'll see y'all next month on Let's Grow Texas Ag.
You've been watching Let's Grow Texas Ag. Special stories focused on the farmers, ranchers, and those who work in our agricultural industries in South Texas. Sponsored by Shop Us John Deere. Visit our website for more information and program schedules. You can stream Let's Grow Texas Ag on Crossroads Today Plus, Zeme, or YouTube.